What is going on, everybody? I'm AJ, and I'm going to give you guys the FanDuel breakdown for UFC Vegas 21. And let's just get down to business. Before doing that, though, first thing, I want to tell you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy site in the industry with up to 100% instant deposit bonus for up to $100. Use promo code AJ100, link in the description below in order to access that. It is basically a fantasy site where you place an entry and it's just you versus a projection. There's no sharks, there's no fish, there's no mass multi-entries, none of that. It's very simple, straightforward, pick-em type game, if you will. So promo code AJ for 100% instant deposit bonus for up to $100 on your initial deposit. And so the other thing I want to tell you about is RotoWire. RotoWire 10-day free trial, guys, 10-day free. So you could access all the different DFS tools, resources that RotoWire has for free for 10 days. And you can utilize it for multiple different sports. They have all the sports you could think of for daily fantasy sports. And they're just, constantly making adjustments, constantly getting with the new trends. So it's obviously a company that I contribute to, but I wouldn't be contributing to them if I didn't actually 100% believe in what they give. I want to, contribute to a place where I feel like not only I could provide value to them, but they provide value to myself and the masses as well, which is the case. So check them out, RotoWire, rotowire.com, link in the description below. And so, yeah, we're here to talk about this card, right? FanDuel. I did my article for this for RotoWire. And at the time that I wrote it, it was at the beginning of the week. I just submitted then. Nasrat Haqparast and Rafa Garcia were not in the player pool. So obviously we'll talk about that. And I'm just kind of doubling up here because the more content, the better, I figure. I do a DraftKings video breakdown and a written breakdown. Same thing with FanDuel. Just like when I do my breakdown, some weeks I'll do one solo and I'll do one with a guest. And it's just to give you guys more content, basically. The more content, the better. Consistency, it's very important, not just in this, but in anything. Showing up, very, very important. So let's get down to business here, shall we? So with Nasrat Haqparast in the mix now, he's $21 on FanDuel. I am interested in him. I just think there's a wide skill gap here. I think he's definitely a consideration for the MVP spot for me in cash games as well. He's a healthy favorite. I think has a solid chance to win inside the distance. I bet him at minus 375, 4 units on that. I just feel very, very good about Nasrat in this spot. Much more tested, proven, prepared for this fight. And my eyes tell me that he's a much better fighter here. So Nasrat to me in any format is fine. I'm not too interested in Garcia. I think it's a very tough matchup for him in his debut. It's not to say that he can't succeed. But most likely I think Nasrat wins, and that's why I'm intrigued with him. Some other fighters that stick out in this range, Yahya, good chance to win inside the distance, strong chance to win per the betting odds. I like him for tournaments and at the at the MVP spot, but just kind of in general in cash. Also, Leon Edwards at 22. I don't think he's got a good of a chance to finish as Haqparast and Yahya do, but the good thing about Edwards is he has 5 rounds instead of 3, so 2 extra rounds to accrue DraftKings points if need be. I don't think the most likely thing that is that Edwards goes out here and gets a finish, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's one of those things. I'm very high on Leon, as are a lot of people. It wouldn't be a shocker to maybe even see him look better than we've seen him look in the past. He's one of these guys that, we haven't seen him since, it's almost been about 2 years now, but I know that this guy's grinding in the meantime. He's only going to get better. Just look at the shape that he's in, for crying out loud. I mean, the guy's putting in the work for sure. So I'm high on Leon. I mean, I like Bilal too, but I'm going to have very limited exposure to Bilal. I just think it's a tough matchup for him. That's just a chance I'm willing to take. We'll see exactly what happens, but I prefer Leon in the matchup. Like I said before, I'm not too interested in Angela Hill at $23. I just think it's unlikely she goes out here and finishes. Ashley Oder, who's never been finished in pro MMA, shown to be tough. Hill's got a big striking advantage. As far as the pick goes, I'm picking her to win. I'm not exactly going on a limb there, but for DFS purposes, I'm not very interested in Hill in the matchup. I hope she looks good though. Jonathan Martinez at 21. I mean, I'm more interested in him than Hill, but I'm still not very interested in him. I prefer those other options we talked about. Yahya, Haqparast, Edwards in that order. That would be where I'm looking the most at. Yahya and Haqparast and Edwards stick out to me the most, and I would rank them in that order. Yahya, Haqparast, Edwards, then Martinez, and then Hill for fighters $20 up, $20 to 23. Some other fighters that stick out to me: Gloria de Paula at $19. I'm interested in her. I mean, this is a spot where kind of we'll get to Dan Ige. The odds don't suggest the most likely thing is she goes out here and gets a finish, but research tells me it's well within reason. She's a dangerous fighter, both in the striking and the grappling realm. I think she'll have some physicality here. I am interested in rostering her. She's not going to be this play that I want in every single lineup, but a sneaky contrarian play, right? If I'm making a lot of lineups, she's somebody that I want to throw in a few, right? Want to be a little bit overweight to the field on her in my portfolio of my DraftKings lineups. So yeah, while I don't like her at face value as a better play than Yahya, Haqparast, and Edwards, I think I like her more than JJ Aldrich, Bilal Muhammad in similar price points. Darren Stewart at the same price. Just it's just a chance I'm willing to take. Maybe it doesn't work out perfectly, but a sneaky contrarian play. I'm willing to take a chance on her. Charles Jourdain at $19. Look, I mean, he's been inconsistent, but for me to just look at the betting odds and go, well, to look at him and just kind of disregard him, I think is not fair. He's got a very strong chance to win inside, or a stronger chance to win inside the distance does Jourdain than a lot of these fighters on this card, right? So he's a dangerous fighter, both in the striking and the grappling realm. So he's the guy that I do want some exposure to. Mano Cape at $18. I think he's very reliant on getting a knockout, but that said, he does have a decent inside distance line. This is a card where there's not a lot of fighters with strong inside distance lines, but Cop has one of the better ones. So again, it is a risk with me targeting him. Like, he could go out there and have another low output performance where he doesn't finish, but he does have upside here. And that's my goal with targeting him. That's my rationale for targeting him. It's not so much worrying about the downside. It's focusing on the upside and seeing exactly where the chips fall. I can't get too cute with these decisions, especially in tournaments. Danny Ige, $18. I mean, he's fine. I'm not crazy about rostering him because, at the end of the day, the odds still say that he doesn't have this super strong chance to win inside the distance, but it's kind of like the Dupla logic where my eyes tell me from tape that he can. Dan throws hard. He's got 5 inches of reach. And we've seen Tucker hurt. We saw him hurt by James. We saw him hurt by Glenn. It's not like this. If the fight plays out and we see Dan clip Tucker and maybe hurt him in a striking exchange, it wouldn't be this huge shock, to me at least, based off what we know right now. I still like Tucker to win the matchup. We'll get to him as well. I like him as a play as well. But I love making multiple lineups. I want to target both sides of a fight where I think it makes sense. I'm really only playing one side or another of a fight if I think there's a certain upside. But if there's a fight where I think that the winner has a strong chance to put up a big score, but I'm not super sold on who that winner is, like we'll get to Cirkunov and Spawn, that's just a fight that I want both sides of. I don't care if I'm wrong on my pick. I just want to have exposure to both sides in DFS so I can get the winner with the potential that they could put up a big score for a regional price. That's my goal. Not so much am I right or am I wrong. It's target the fights that I think will score highly. So Bilal Muhammad at $17. I mean, I'm not too interested in him, especially because he's priced up because he's in the main event. We got to be mindful of that on FanDuel. It's not exactly like DraftKings where you got a fighter that's priced high and then the opponent is matched opposite, basically, of their price point. The main event fighters get a bit of a premium, even if you're the underdog, a big underdog. So for reference, Muhammad is the same price as Misha Cirkunov at $17, who I just think is a much better play. Like I said, he could lose, and that's the reason why I want some exposure to Spawn, but he could win and has a decent chance to win inside the distance. This fight's not going to be a secret, but look, that's not going to discourage me from targeting it. I just think that there's too much upside here for me to ignore, and we'll see what happens. Again, there's always a case for me to not go all in on a fight, but this is the fight that I want the most exposure to. And we'll see exactly what happens. I think both guys have decent chances to win inside the distance. And that's my goal with targeting the fight. It's a reasonably priced fight, and we'll see exactly what happens. Matthew Semelsberger at $16. I prefer him over Aldrich at the same price point. I just think that Semelsberger's got a much better chance to win inside the distance. He's got 5 inches of reach on Witt. He seems to have some power. He is a good striker, I'd say, good combinations, counters well. And we've seen Witt rocked in a lot of fights. He's been stopped via strikes 4 times, including once very quickly in his UFC debut. I like Semelsberger for that reason. I think he's got knockout upside. His similar to these other fighters that we talked about, the odds don't say the most likely thing is he goes out there and finishes the fight, but my eyes tell me from tape there's a reasonable enough chance for him to do so, and that's my goal with targeting Semelsberger. Like I said, JJ Aldrich is not too interested in targeting her. She doesn't have a strong chance to win inside the distance. She's generally a low output fighter, and she's generally not a grappler. So she's a fade for me. Her and Hill are the fighters that I want the least exposure to on this slate. I think they both win, but when I want to target these fighters in DFS, it's not just about who wins, who loses. It's like who could score well if they win. That's the goal, the upside, not so much get cute with the whole could they win, could they score 50 points type of deal. I want to go for best case scenario, not worry about the worst case scenario. That's what I shoot for. Ryan Spahn at $15. Yeah, we said it. I mean, if he wins, there's a decent chance it's by finish. Cirkunov's been finished in all of his pro MMA losses. And Spahn's he's a dangerous guy. I mean, he's dangerous on the feet, dangerous on the ground. I wouldn't be shocked to see Spahn win. I mean, look, I'm picking Cirkunov to win, but this is a high variance fight. I mean, I think a lot of people see it the similar way. So again, it's not going to discourage me from targeting this fight if I think a lot of people will be on it. I still want exposure to this fight because the upside is just too hard for me to ignore. I don't want to just completely disregard it. So I do want exposure to both fighters in that fight. It'll probably be about a near 50-50 split for me, but probably a slight lean towards Cirkunov. Jason Witt at $15. I mean, he's fine. Like, he's a live underdog for sure. That's one of the things that I look for with underdogs in DFS. I want them. It obviously, like, if there's some super obvious odds value, they're priced cheap and they're like a big favorite or pick them, that's great. But underdogs that have a very reasonable chance to win per the betting odds, that's what I want. Obviously, it's great if they go out there and they get a finish, they put up a big score. But a lot of the times on a lot of these slates, it's just the fact that the underdogs win in respect to their price is a solid value score. We don't always need them to go out there and get a finish. It's great if they do, but I want to target these underdogs that I think have legitimate chances to win. In the cases of Witt, his path to victory here is to grapple. I just think on the feet, he's kind of playing a dangerous game with Semelsberger. There's regional footage of Semelsberger getting taken down. I think he's taken a step forward since then. I don't know by how much. He seems like an improving guy, an athletic guy. We'll see. We'll see exactly where Semelsberger's at defensively, but I think that Witt is going to test him there. And there's certainly a chance that his takedown defense doesn't hold up and Witt goes out there and looks good. So yeah, I think Witt is in play for me as well. As same thing with Matheus Nicolau, $14, guys. I mean, this is a fight where, like I mentioned, Kopp, but I like Nicolau as well. I think he's a very live underdog. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, very good submission grappler. And I still have the same questions on Kopp that I did heading into the Pantoja fight. We really didn't get to see him put on his back a whole lot there, just towards the very end of the first round. Didn't really get to see it play out a whole lot when there's a lot of regional footage of Kopp struggling on his back. I mean, the guy's a serious threat on the feet, but if you could actually take him down and put him flat on his back, he doesn't have the fence to get up. That's his weakness as an MMA fighter. He's a very talented guy, young guy. He's in the UFC for a reason, but if there's something that Kopp can improve on, it's that defensive grappling from his back. And like I say, I'm not so sold on Nicolau being a great wrestler, but if he happens to get in top position on Kopp, he has the potential to dominate, I think, based off, the Kopp's rising fights, right? So it's a fight I want exposure to both sides of. The risk is like maybe it doesn't hit the ground and it's like this lower output striking type affair. But again, I don't want to think like that when I'm rostering lineups. That's a reason for me to maybe not go all in on it, maybe not go heavy on it. But in terms of me targeting the fight as is, there's enough upside there for me to want to target both guys. Next, we got Gavin Tucker at $13. I mean, look, I don't think the most likely thing is he goes out there and finishes Ige. Dan is shown to be very tough, never been finished in pro MMA. And Tucker, I would say, is not the most dangerous finisher. So there's that. But the other angle is, again, Tucker's another live underdog. He could fight at a very high pace in a win scenario. He landed over 100 significant strikes last time out against Billy Quarantillo, 7 takedowns. He's my pick to win the fight. He's $13, which is, a very reasonable price. Again, it's not the cheapest guy on the card, but like a guy that very legitimately could win. I think as long as this isn't too big of a step up in comp, and as long as this as long as he doesn't get hurt in the striking exchanges, he probably beats Dan. I think it'll still be close. Dan's a very game fighter. He's been in there with Cater, Barboza, Bektik. I mean, Dan has definitely been much more tested, no doubt about it. So I'm high on Tucker. I bet on him his last 2 fights. We'll see exactly how he looks. I hope he looks great here again. But from a DFS perspective, this is another fight where I think that there's some intrigue here for me. I think it most likely goes to decision, but there's some upside here with both guys. So I'm willing to target it to some extent. Courtney Casey at $13. I'm not super interested in her. But if I were to target one fighter to the other on this fight, her and Aldrich, I would rather target Casey. She's cheaper. I think she's a live underdog. It's kind of a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. Like I ever so slightly favor Aldrich, but it's not like I think this is going to be close. It's going to be like this optics fight. Who looks better in the eyes of the judges? I think Aldrich is going to be landing cleaner. I think she's more defensively sound, better footwork, but Casey throws more offense. She hits harder, in my opinion. That could be enough for her to win the rounds. And so when you have a close fight like that, but then we see a discount here on Casey, that it's a dog or pass type of scenario, in my opinion, for FanDuel. Eric Anders at $12. I'm just not interested in the fight, to be honest. Him and Stewart are both very tough. They're fairly well rounded. I mean, I don't really Stewart's tight. I mean, the knock on Stewart's game in the past was his defensive grappling, but he's tightened that up. He really has. And Anders isn't like the best wrestler. I mean, he's a really strong athlete, but he kind of like muscles guys down. I mean, he doesn't have the best technique, and I think you need to have pretty solid technique to get Stewart down. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just not that big on the fight as is. I just think they're both tough as nails. They both hit hard, but they're also both like fairly low output. So I just think that the fight is really knockout reliant. And when we have 2 guys that have largely shown to be very durable, it's just not something that I want to invest in, really. Marcela Rojo at $11. I mean, I think he's okay just based off the fact that Jourdain has shown to be wild in the past. And Rojo seems like a solid technical striker. I still think Jourdain probably beats him, but when I'm looking at this range, I mean, I'd rather target Rojo than Frey. I'd rather target him than Garcia, than Oder, than Grant, than Rodriguez. I mean, the betting odds might not reflect it, but I think he's got just as good, if not better, chance to win than all those fighters. But he's facing an opponent who we've seen lose as a big favorite before, right? Just his last fight against Nicolau. And again, there's always, we'll get to these other fighters as well, but he's a guy that I don't want to go heavy on. He's not an underdog where I'm like, I want to target him more than these other underdogs that we talked about that have better chances to win, Spawn, Witt, Nicolau, Tucker. Like, I'd rather target all those fighters than Rojo, but he's reasonable in my opinion. He's okay. Like, not a guy I want to invest heavily in, but a guy that I just a little bit of exposure to. Jinu Frey at $11. I mean, in my opinion, she's just a little too low output. I mean, maybe this is too big of a step up for Dupla. There's that. She's obviously a very tested fighter. I would just rather invest in Dupla, to be honest. Again, it's not that Frey can't win the fight or, this and that, but it's just not a place that I want to invest heavily in on FanDuel. And then we got Ray Rodriguez at $9. I would just rather invest in Yahya, to be honest. He's got a much better chance to win. Very good inside distance line. I think it's a solid matchup for Yahya, assuming he has enough left in the tank. And I don't want to invest too much in the unknown. I mean, he's 36 now. He's been fighting since 2002, but it's more so a narrative rather than me saying like, oh, for sure, this is the fight where Yahya, doesn't look quite like himself. So not a place that I want to invest highly in. I'd rather invest in Yahya. Ryan Garcia, we talked about him. I just think it's a great spot from Haqparast. We'll see what happens with Garcia going forward. But he's just, like I said before, I don't want to invest too heavily in these big underdogs, guys. I mean, the odds makers, they're smart. I mean, they have their jobs for a reason, right? They're telling us that these fighters don't have great chances to win. And so I respect their opinion mightily. And I don't want to, for that reason, I don't want to invest too much in these fighters that the odds makers saying that they don't have a great chance to win. I'd rather invest in the other fighters that we talked about that have solid chances to win for the betting odds near pick 'em. So, okay, we'll see. Ashley Oder and Davey Grant, I'll just talk about them both together. I think that they're both okay for cash because both of their fights, the odds suggest they're likely to go the distance. They're both have historically shown to be tough. They're both grapplers. So they're fighters where like, I like them for cash because again, they could go the distance. They could score still okay in a loss. But when I roster them, I'm able to afford the other fighters that I feel better about in my FanDuel lineups. That's the goal with cash. I'm not so big on investing in them in GPPs because, again, the same logic we talked about before. The odds maker saying that they don't have great chances to win. And we'll see exactly how the fight plays out, but it's just not a spot that I want to have a lot of FanDuel and DraftKings exposure to for that reason. So it's more of a cash game consideration, not a lock, but that's where I would look to roster them if I'm going to do that. Again, it's not a matter of like if they win or lose. It's a matter of by plugging them in, I'm able to afford the other fighters that I feel strongest about that could win and put up a big score. That is the objective with that. And yeah, that'll conclude this FanDuel breakdown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys can follow me on Twitter at AJ_SCHULLO. That is on the banner below. You could also follow Kelton as well. He's not on the podcast with me right now, but I didn't update that banner before I got on there. But follow Kelton. I did the breakdown with him Wednesday. It's up on the channel as well. You guys could check it out. Again, follow Kelton, check him out, give his YouTube channel a look. But yeah, feel free to subscribe to this channel, give a thumbs up, and please feel free to leave a nice comment below. Thank you guys so much. Best of luck on the event, and have a nice day.